Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst into a story so ancient, so unfathomable, it might just make your carefully constructed understanding of Earth's history crumble like a fossilized bone under a particularly clumsy paleontologist's boot. You're drifting back, way back, to a time when giant lizards ruled, when the very air tasted different, thick with humidity and the scent of primordial ferns. Picture it, you're standing at the edge of a vast, steamy jungle, the air alive with the chirps and roars of creatures long gone. A towering brontosaurus lumbers past, its colossal footfalls shaking the ground beneath you, a gentle breeze rustling through the colossal fronds of cycads. Overhead, a pterodactyl glides silently, its leathery wings catching the light of a sun that feels somehow older. And in this incredibly vivid, utterly alien landscape, a chilling thought begins to bloom in your mind: you probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes out here. Not with the teeth, the claws, the sheer, unadulterated primal power lurking in every shadow. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're feeling chatty, drop your location and local time in the comments. It's always wild to see how far these sleepy stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've probably heard the classic story, the one whispered in school classrooms and splashed across documentaries: an asteroid, a massive, spacefaring rock, screaming through the atmosphere and slamming into the Yucatan Peninsula with the force of 1 billion atomic bombs. The Cretaceous-Paleogene Extinction Event, or KPG event as the cool kids call it, is the accepted narrative. This cosmic billiard ball, roughly 6 miles wide, allegedly kicked up such a cloud of dust and debris that it plunged the Earth into a long, dark winter. Photosynthesis ground to a halt. Plants died. Herbivores starved. Carnivores, with no herbivores to munch on, followed suit. A neat, tidy, and utterly terrifying explanation for why the dinosaurs, those magnificent, terrifying rulers of the Mesozoic era, suddenly vanished about 66 million years ago. You can almost picture the global dust cloud, right? Blocking out the sun, turning day into an endless twilight, the temperature plummeting. It's a compelling narrative, backed by scientific consensus, a layer of iridium found globally at the KPG boundary, a rare element more common in asteroids than on Earth, acting as the smoking gun. Historians still argue whether the climate shifts were already weakening the dinosaurs before the impact, making them more vulnerable, or if the asteroid was the sole, swift executioner. But what if I told you that the asteroid was just a distraction? A convenient cosmic alibi for something far more deliberate, far more chilling? Imagine, for a moment, that the ultimate apex predators weren't on Earth, but above it. High above, watching. Waiting. You see, the dinosaurs were magnificent, powerful, and in their own way, beautiful. But they were also big. Really, really big. And for a certain kind of entity, big means easy to track. Big means a lot of protein. And big means a trophy that truly impresses your alien buddies back on the home world. Think about it. When you go hunting, do you go after the scrawny squirrel, or the majestic stag with a rack you could hang your coat on? Unless you're a particularly eccentric squirrel enthusiast, it's usually the stag. The accepted wisdom says the KPG event was a natural catastrophe. The fringe tidbit, the whispered theory, the inconvenient truth we're going to slowly unravel tonight, suggests something else entirely. It suggests that dinosaurs were hunted. Not by other dinosaurs, not by some new super predator, but by something else. Something with technology we can barely conceive, motivations we can hardly grasp, and a hunger that spanned galaxies. You might scoff. Ancient aliens? Really? And yes, it sounds like something plucked from a late-night cable show, doesn't it? But consider the sheer scale of the universe, the countless possibilities. To assume we're alone, or that life only takes forms we recognize, is perhaps the most audacious assumption of all. It's like a fish in the ocean believing the only life forms are other fish. So, you stand there, in the humid primeval jungle, the sounds of distant roars fading slightly as you shift your gaze skyward. The sun glints off something, high up, something you can't quite make out. Is it a cloud? A trick of the light? Or is it the faint, almost imperceptible shimmer of a celestial vessel, patiently orbiting, silently observing, planning its grand, terrifying harvest? The sheer logistical nightmare of hunting creatures so vast, spread across an entire planet, would require an incredible level of organization, advanced weaponry, and a complete disregard for the indigenous ecosystem. And that, my friend, is where our story truly begins to diverge from the textbook narrative. This isn't just about an asteroid, it's about a cosmic safari, an intergalactic hunting trip where the Earth was the designated game reserve, and the dinosaurs were the prime quarry. You're talking about an intelligence so far beyond ours that they could manipulate planetary environments, perhaps even guide a chunk of space rock to serve their ultimate purpose. Imagine the sheer audacity. To use a natural phenomenon as a cover, a convenient smokescreen to obscure a deliberate act of culling. It's a cosmic crime scene, and the asteroid is merely the chalk outline around the true, magnificent victim. Think about the fossil record. It's not just about what we find, but what we don't find. There's a sudden, almost surgical break in the lineage of these colossal creatures. Yes, some smaller dinosaurs survived, like birds, their feathered descendants still flitting around your backyard. But the grand, lumbering titans? Gone. Vanished. It's almost too neat, too complete a wipeout for a purely random event, isn't it? It's like someone tied it up, removed the biggest pieces, leaving only the scattered remnants. And who, or what, has that kind of power? Definitely not your neighbor, unless they've been hiding some serious space-age lawn care equipment. The idea that intelligent life might exist beyond Earth isn't new. It's a concept that has fueled countless science fiction stories, whispered theories, and even serious scientific inquiries. But what if that intelligence wasn't benevolent, wasn't seeking peaceful communication? What if it was, quite simply, hungry? Or perhaps, more chillingly, viewing us, or rather, the dominant life forms of our planet, as nothing more than biological resources? It's a disturbing thought, certainly. You, as a modern human, probably feel pretty secure at the top of the food chain. But what if the food chain extends far beyond our planet, with beings we can't even comprehend occupying the very top, looking down on our entire world as a well-stocked pantry? As you contemplate this, a sense of unease might settle over you. The rustle of unseen leaves, the distant call of a primeval bird, they take on a new, more sinister quality. Are you truly alone in this ancient jungle? Or are there eyes watching from beyond the canopy, from beyond the very atmosphere, eyes that have seen countless worlds rise and fall, countless species flourish and, ultimately, be harvested? The thought is enough to send a shiver down your spine, a whisper of a cold wind across your primeval skin. And with that unsettling thought, we leave this first glimpse into a world not just lost to time, but perhaps deliberately emptied. You're still there, aren't you? Standing amidst the colossal ferns, the humid air heavy with the scent of decay and lush growth. It's an incredible sensory overload, a symphony of primeval life. Before the hunters, before the asteroid, Earth was a veritable Eden. Not a quiet, peaceful garden, mind you, but a vibrant, roaring, thriving testament to biodiversity. Think of it, the Mesozoic era, specifically the Cretaceous period we're focused on, was a planet-sized greenhouse. You wouldn't have needed a jacket, that's for sure. Global temperatures were significantly warmer than today, and the polar regions, which you now know as icy wastes, were actually home to temperate forests. Imagine forests stretching from pole to pole, no vast ice caps to speak of. The sea levels were much higher too, carving out vast inland seas across continents. You might have found yourself wading through shallow, warm waters where now you'd be trekking through dry land. This was a world bursting with life. The oceans teemed with colossal marine reptiles like the mosasaur, a creature that would make a great white shark look like a guppy. Pterosaurs dominated the skies, soaring on wingspans that could rival a small airplane. And on land, well, you know the stars of that show. From the gentle, long-necked sauropods like the Apatosaurus, munching on leafy greens, to the fearsome Tyrannosaurus rex, stalking its prey with a bone-crushing bite. Each creature, a perfect, intricate cog in a vast, ancient ecosystem. It was a time of immense, almost unfathomable biological success, a planet operating at its absolute peak from a purely evolutionary standpoint. A mainstream historical fact you might find fascinating is that during the late Cretaceous, flowering plants, or angiosperms, were rapidly diversifying and becoming the dominant plant life. Before this, ferns and conifers were the main course on the dinosaur menu. So, while you're dodging a triceratops, you'd also notice a new burst of color and a wider variety of plant shapes than in earlier periods. It transformed the landscape, creating new food sources and habitats, fueling an even greater explosion of animal life. This wasn't some desolate, barren rock, it was a verdant paradise. Now, for a quirky tidbit, some paleontologists suggest that certain sauropods, those enormous long-necked dinosaurs, might have swallowed gastroliths, literally, stomach stones, to help grind up their tough plant material, much like modern birds do. So, as a brachiosaurus sauntered past, its stomach might have been rattling with a collection of smooth pebbles. Imagine trying to explain that to an alien hunter. No, that's not part of its defense mechanism, that's just its internal blender. It's a strange little detail that humanizes, in a way, these otherwise monstrous creatures. But within this vibrant, thriving world, there was a subtle, almost imperceptible imbalance brewing. The very abundance of life, particularly the sheer biomass of the large dinosaurs, made them a beacon. Think of a perfectly ripe fruit, hanging heavy on a branch, emitting a subtle, irresistible scent. Earth, with its gargantuan inhabitants, was just such a fruit in the cosmic orchard. This wasn't just about their size, either. The dinosaurs represented a peak of evolutionary development on Earth. They had refined their forms over tens of millions of years, filling every available niche, from the smallest raptors to the largest herbivores. They were, in essence, the pinnacle of terrestrial life at that moment, incredibly efficient at converting sunlight and plants into vast quantities of protein and bone. And if you're a cosmic hunter looking for a sustainable, large-scale harvest, efficiency is key. You don't want to waste time chasing tiny, darting creatures when you can bring down something that could feed an entire intergalactic expedition. Historians still argue whether the dominance of these massive creatures actually limited the evolutionary pathways for smaller mammals, essentially keeping them in the background, scurrying in the shadows. This theory suggests that without the dinosaurs, mammals might have diversified and taken over much, much earlier. It's a fascinating what-if scenario. What if the cosmic hunters were actually doing us a favor, clearing the stage for our own eventual appearance? A rather morbid form of cosmic gardening, perhaps. You might be thinking, but wouldn't the asteroid have been enough? Why go to all this trouble? And that's the cunning part, isn't it? The asteroid, as you'll soon discover, wasn't a random act of nature. It was an instrument, a meticulously guided tool in the hands of an intelligence far beyond our ken. It was the ultimate misdirection, the grand finale of a hunt that had been underway for far longer than anyone realized. The Earth, in its primordial glory, was simply too appealing to be left to its own devices. It was like a giant, slow-moving buffet, perfectly laid out for whoever had the means to consume it. Consider the sheer energy contained within these creatures. A single adult Apatosaurus could weigh up to 45 tons, effectively a living, breathing, plant-eating tank. Imagine the caloric density. And when you're traversing the vast, empty reaches of space, seeking out resources, such a concentrated source of biomass would be an irresistible prize. It's not just about food, either. What if their bones, their unique biological compounds, held properties valuable to an advanced civilization? Perhaps their scales, their DNA, even their very life force, had a purpose we can't begin to fathom. The universe, after all, operates on principles far beyond our current understanding. As you stand there, trying to process the sheer scale of life around you, a chill that has nothing to do with the warm, humid air snakes up your spine. This wasn't just a world, it was a larder. A vibrant, unsuspecting larder, ripe for the plucking. The serenity of the primeval jungle suddenly feels like the calm before a very unnatural storm. The sheer abundance, the unchecked growth, the magnificent, plodding giants, all of it was building towards something. Not just a natural evolutionary shift, but an ultimate confrontation with forces from beyond the stars. Forces that saw our flourishing planet not as a cradle of life, but as a resource waiting to be exploited. So, as you breathe in the ancient air, feel the damp earth beneath your feet, and listen to the symphony of a world untouched by human hands, remember that this paradise was already marked. Marked for a harvest, for a colossal, horrifying hunt orchestrated by an unseen, unimaginable predator. The dinosaurs, in their magnificent ignorance, were simply living their lives, unaware that they were merely the main course in a cosmic feast. And with that unsettling thought, we turn our gaze from this vibrant past to the ominous future, to the moment when the shadows began to fall from the sky. You're still standing there, aren't you? The primeval jungle hums around you, vibrant and oblivious. You can almost feel the ground tremble with the distant thud of some unseen leviathan. But now, as you tilt your head back, the humid air feels different, carrying a faint, almost imperceptible tremor that isn't from a lumbering dinosaur. Your eyes scan the ancient sky, that vast, boundless canvas of blue, dotted with slow-moving, puffy clouds. And then, you see it. Or rather, you sense it. A faint disruption, a shimmering, almost imperceptible distortion high above, like heat haze off a desert road, but in the cool, distant expanse of the upper atmosphere. This isn't a cloud. This isn't a trick of the light. This is the arrival. They came silently, as true predators often do. No fanfare, no blaring trumpets, no intergalactic welcome wagons. Just a quiet, determined descent. Imagine colossal vessels, not necessarily sleek and metallic like the saucers of pulp fiction, but perhaps organic or utilizing technology so far beyond our comprehension that they appear as nothing more than atmospheric anomalies. Or maybe they were simply cloaked, rendering themselves invisible to the unsuspecting eyes of the dominant life forms below. The Earth, in its Mesozoic splendor, was a bright, shining beacon in the cosmic dark, a planet teeming with the very resources they sought. You can almost hear the cosmic equivalent of a hunter's satisfaction as they identified their quarry. A mainstream historical fact about space that might give you a shiver is the sheer scale of it. Our solar system is just one tiny speck in the Milky Way galaxy, which itself is one of billions of galaxies in the observable universe. The distances involved are mind-boggling, making interstellar travel seem impossible to us. Yet, for an advanced civilization, perhaps they've mastered wormholes, warp drives, or some other method that makes light years feel like mere miles. This vastness means that the chances of life existing elsewhere are statistically overwhelming. And some of that life, logically, would be older, more evolved, and far more technologically advanced than our own. For a quirky tidbit, consider the wow signal. In 1977, a radio telescope picked up a 72-second burst of incredibly strong, narrowband radio waves from space. It was exactly the kind of signal SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, was looking for. To this day, its origin remains unexplained. Was it just a random cosmic burp? Or was it, perhaps, a fleeting echo of communication from a distant, ancient civilization, a whisper across the void that we briefly intercepted? It's a little like picking up a faint radio signal on your old AM dial and wondering who's out there broadcasting. The motives for their arrival? Historians still argue whether alien visitors might be driven by resource acquisition, scientific study, or something far more esoteric like preserving or cultivating specific life forms across the cosmos. For our story, their motive is clear: a hunt. A colossal, planet-spanning hunt. They weren't here to admire the primeval beauty, or to exchange cultural pleasantries with a T-Rex. They were here for the harvest. The dinosaurs, with their massive bodies and incredible diversity, represented an unparalleled biological bounty. As you gaze upwards, that faint shimmering intensifies ever so slightly. It's not a single point of light, but a vast, diffuse presence, spreading like an invisible net across the atmosphere. You feel a subconscious prickle of unease, a primal sense that something fundamentally wrong is happening, something that transcends the natural order of this vibrant world. The air suddenly feels heavier, charged with an unspoken tension. The distant roars of dinosaurs seem to dim, almost as if they, too, sense the shift, the arrival of a new, unseen predator at the top of the food chain. These weren't clumsy, bumbling visitors. They were meticulous. They would have scouted, observed, calculated. They would have understood the ecological balance, the behavior patterns of their prey, the optimal strategies for a planetary-scale culling. This wasn't some haphazard smash and grab. This was a sophisticated, long-term operation, likely conducted over an extended period. The idea of ancient aliens often conjures images of flying saucers landing on the pyramids. But what if their first, and most significant, intervention wasn't with early humans, but with the creatures that predated us by millions of years? What if the true first contact was a prelude to a hunt? You might find yourself trying to rationalize it, to dismiss the shimmering as a trick of your tired eyes. But the feeling persists. That subtle pressure in the air, that almost imperceptible hum that resonates not in your ears, but deep within your bones. It's the sound of a truly massive, silent machine, maneuvering into position. They weren't just passing through. They were here with a purpose. A terrifying, single-minded purpose. Perhaps they didn't even land. Perhaps their technology allowed them to operate from orbit, deploying automated hunters or energy beams that could selectively target and extract their prey. Imagine the ultimate fishing trawler, but instead of hauling in schools of tuna, it's scooping up entire herds of triceratops. A rather chilling image, isn't it? The sheer scale of such an operation would require immense power, advanced computing, and an absolute mastery of their environment. This was no casual trip, this was an industrial-scale harvest. As you stand beneath that subtly disturbed sky, the vibrant life of the Cretaceous feels suddenly fragile, vulnerable. The dinosaurs, for all their power and dominance, were utterly oblivious to the true nature of the threat descending upon them. They were adapted to their terrestrial challenges, rival predators, volcanic eruptions, shifting climates. But nothing in their evolutionary history could have prepared them for an intelligence that arrived from beyond the stars, armed with technology that rendered their colossal might utterly irrelevant. The rustle of the leaves, the distant calls, the very air you breathe, it all feels like a moment suspended in time, the calm before the storm. You're witnessing the genesis of the greatest misdirection in Earth's history. The stage is set, the hunters have arrived, and the unsuspecting inhabitants of this verdant world are about to become part of a cosmic legend, one that will be conveniently attributed to a random rock from space. You can almost feel the cold, calculating gaze of unseen eyes, assessing the planet, cataloguing its inhabitants, and preparing for the first, terrible phase of their grand, terrifying harvest. You're still frozen in that moment, aren't you? Gaze fixed on the subtly disturbed sky, feeling that inexplicable pressure in the air. The dinosaurs below, blissfully unaware, continue their ancient routines. But the atmosphere itself has shifted, ever so slightly, with the arrival of these unseen visitors. This wasn't a grand, overt invasion. It was far more insidious, far more subtle. This was first contact, not with a handshake, but with the chilling, unseen mark of a predator. Imagine a highly advanced hunter entering a pristine wilderness. They don't just charge in, guns blazing. No, they scout, they lay traps, they subtly alter the environment to their advantage, often without the prey even realizing they're being observed. That's what happened here. The initial phase of their operation wouldn't have been a direct assault. It would have been a quiet, almost imperceptible manipulation. Think of it as preparing the field for a harvest, ensuring maximum yield with minimal fuss. A mainstream historical fact that might illuminate this concept is the study of trophic cascades. This is where the introduction or removal of an apex predator fundamentally changes an entire ecosystem. For instance, when wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park, Not only did the elk population change, but the behavior of rivers and the growth of trees were also affected because the elk grazed less in certain areas. Imagine, then, a hyper-advanced predator manipulating the top of a planetary food chain. The effects would ripple throughout all life, even if subtly at first. For a quirky tidbit, consider the phenomenon of phantom limbs in amputees. People who have lost a limb often still feel sensations, even pain, as if the limb was still there. It's a testament to how deeply our brains are wired to our physical form. Now, stretch that idea. What if a planetary ecosystem, like a vast living organism, could experience a phantom presence, a lingering unease, even before a tangible threat becomes apparent? A subconscious ripple through the collective consciousness of its dominant species, warning them of an unseen shift. Perhaps the dinosaurs felt it, in some deep, instinctual way, before they understood it. Historians still argue whether the subtle shifts in dinosaur behavior, changes in migration patterns, unexplained localized extinctions, or even increased aggression within certain species, could have been early indicators of environmental stress or disease before the asteroid impact. What if these anomalies weren't natural, but the early, almost imperceptible effects of an alien presence? Think about it, manipulating food sources, introducing subtle toxins, or even altering atmospheric conditions on a small scale to influence the health and distribution of their intended prey. You're standing in that ancient world, and you notice little things. A patch of ferns, vibrant yesterday, now looks subtly withered. A familiar bird call seems strained, a little off-key. The air, though warm, carries a faint metallic tang, almost imperceptible. These aren't dramatic changes, they are the whispers of a coming storm, the tiny tremors before the earthquake. The aliens wouldn't have just arrived, they would have begun to infuse their presence into the very fabric of the planet. Perhaps they deployed unseen probes, microscopic drones that could analyze the biological makeup of the dinosaurs, identifying optimal targets, assessing biomass, even tagging specific individuals. Imagine tiny, almost invisible devices attaching to the hide of a lumbering sauropod, gathering data. To the dinosaur, it would be nothing more than a persistent fly, a minor annoyance. To the hunters, it was vital intelligence. This was reconnaissance on a planetary scale, meticulous and chillingly efficient. The goal wasn't immediate slaughter. It was to understand, to catalog, to optimize. They needed to know the herd's movements, their breeding grounds, their vulnerabilities. They were learning the rhythms of this new, vibrant hunting ground. And in doing so, they would have inevitably left their mark. Not a giant crater, not yet, but subtle disturbances. Perhaps localized atmospheric changes to guide weather patterns, or minor geological shifts to create new bottlenecks for migrating herds. You feel a subtle vibration underfoot. Not the heavy thud of a dinosaur, but something else, a deeper, almost harmonic resonance. Is it the planet itself, groaning under an unseen pressure? Or is it the faint, distant hum of alien machinery, burrowing deep beneath the surface, setting up hidden infrastructure, preparing the groundwork for the larger operation to come? The thought makes your teeth ache, a subtle, sympathetic pain for this oblivious, magnificent world. The brilliance of their strategy lies in its initial stealth. By subtly influencing the ecosystem, they could begin to consolidate their prey, to make the eventual harvest more efficient. It's like a shepherd subtly guiding his flock towards a designated pasture, long before the shearing begins. The dinosaurs, for all their fearsome might, were simply livestock on a cosmic scale, completely unaware of the shears hovering just beyond their perception. As you look around, the vibrant green of the jungle seems to dim just a shade. The sounds, though still present, feel distant, muted, as if heard through a thick pane of glass. You're witnessing the silent, terrifying moment when a world transitions from a natural ecosystem to a managed resource. The initial whispers of a presence become a faint, pervasive hum, a constant reminder that Earth is no longer just Earth. It is now a target. It is a hunting ground. And the first, unseen mark of the hunters has been etched deep into its ancient, unsuspecting hide. You're still acutely aware of that subtle, unsettling shift in the atmosphere, aren't you? That feeling that something unseen is at play. The previous sections covered the almost imperceptible initial contact. Now, the focus narrows, sharpens, because in this cosmic hunt, the predators didn't target every single living thing. No, their gaze, cold and calculating, fixed upon the true prizes of the Cretaceous, the targeting giants. Why the giants? It seems obvious when you consider it from a hunter's perspective. When you're seeking a substantial return on your cosmic travel investment, you don't bother with the smaller, more elusive prey. You go for the biggest bang for your buck. The dinosaurs, particularly the sauropods and large theropods, were biological gold mines. Imagine the sheer amount of biomass, the concentrated energy, contained within a single Argentinosaurus, weighing in at perhaps 100 tons, the equivalent of a dozen African elephants. From an alien perspective, these weren't just animals, they were walking, breathing, incredibly efficient protein factories. A mainstream historical fact you should know about these behemoths is that the largest dinosaurs were sauropods, like the aforementioned Argentinosaurus or the Patagotitan. These long-necked, four-legged giants were herbivores, essentially living, breathing lawnmowers, constantly consuming vast quantities of plant matter to fuel their immense bodies. Their sheer size presented unique biological challenges, from pumping blood all the way up their necks to their brains, to simply moving their colossal weight. Yet, they thrived for millions of years, proving the incredible adaptability of life on Earth. Here's a quirky tidbit to chew on. Some theories suggest that the immense size of sauropods wasn't just about escaping predators, but also about thermoregulation. Their sheer volume meant they could maintain a more stable internal body temperature, acting like massive, slow-cooling heat sinks. Imagine a living, walking thermal battery, perfectly suited for whatever industrial process these alien hunters might have had in mind. It's a rather unromantic view of these majestic creatures, isn't it? From awe-inspiring giants to glorified biological power plants. Historians still argue whether the gigantism seen in the late Mesozoic was a direct response to the abundance of food, a defense mechanism against increasingly large predators, or simply a byproduct of favorable atmospheric conditions, like higher oxygen levels, allowing for more efficient growth. Whatever the reason, it made them irresistible targets. You see, the more concentrated the resource, the easier the harvest. As you observe a group of hadrosaurs, perhaps a herd of Parasaurolophus, with their distinctive head crests, grazing peacefully, you realize their vulnerability. Their size, their slow lumbering movements, their predictable herd behavior, it all made them perfect targets. The sheer scale of their existence made them stand out, literally, from orbit. It's like having a giant, flashing Yeet-Me sign above their heads to an intergalactic hunter. The aliens would have undoubtedly prioritized these creatures. Imagine their thermal imaging scans, painting the planet in shades of energy, with the largest dinosaurs glowing brightest, almost like individual heat signatures waiting to be collected. This wasn't about sport hunting, not in the traditional sense of tracking a challenging prey for the thrill of the chase. This was about efficient resource acquisition. It was farming on a cosmic scale, and the dinosaurs were the primary crop. Consider the logistics. To effectively harvest a planetary population of giants, you need to understand their distribution, their migration routes, their breeding cycles. The subtle manipulations you felt earlier, the altered plant growth, the slight shifts in climate, would have been designed to herd these giants, perhaps subtly guiding them towards choke points, or concentrating them in specific regions. Think of it as a cosmic cattle drive, except the cattle weigh tens of tons and have really sharp teeth or enormous defensive plates. The very success of the dinosaurs became their undoing. Their evolutionary dominance, their mastery of their niche, ironically made them the most visible, most valuable targets for an external, opportunistic force. They had no natural predators on such a scale, nothing within Earth's own ecosystem that could challenge their reign. Except, of course, for something from outside the ecosystem. You hear a low, resonant boom in the distance. It's not thunder, and it's certainly not a T-Rex's roar. It's a sound that travels through the ground more than the air, a deep, concussive thrum that suggests immense power being brought to bear. Is it an orbital weapon, subtly softening targets? Or perhaps a localized energy discharge, designed to stun or incapacitate the largest creatures without causing widespread, noticeable damage? Whatever it is, it reinforces the growing dread that this peaceful, verdant world is under attack, but not in any way its inhabitants could ever comprehend. The focus on giants also suggests a certain level of sophistication in the hunters. They weren't just indiscriminately bombing the planet. They were selective. This implies a value assessment, a decision-making process based on yield and efficiency. It wasn't about clearing the planet for some future colonization, though that might have been a secondary benefit. It was primarily about the dinosaurs themselves. Their bodies, their unique biology, were the prize. As you stand amidst these unsuspecting titans, watching them graze, or stalk, or simply exist in their magnificent prehistoric glory, you feel a profound sense of melancholy. They are so utterly unaware, so perfectly adapted to their world, and yet, they are marked. The very attributes that made them successful on Earth, their size, their power, their abundance, are precisely what sealed their fate in the eyes of the cosmic hunters. They were simply too big, too obvious, too valuable to ignore. And with their fate now decided, the next phase of this chilling cosmic operation could begin. You're still watching them, aren't you? Those colossal, unsuspecting giants, moving through their ancient world. You felt the subtle shift in the air, recognized the sinister logic of targeting the biggest prey. Now, as you continue to hover in this timeless moment, you begin to grasp the sheer, terrifying ingenuity of the cosmic hunters. This wasn't just about spotting big targets, it was about bringing them down. This is where the truly chilling aspect of the alien hunt unfolds, the techno-hunt, the unveiling of alien weaponry. Forget clumsy nets or primitive spears. Imagine technology so advanced it borders on magic. The sheer scale of the dinosaurs meant conventional hunting methods were out of the question. You can't exactly lasso a brachiosaurus. So, what did they use? The evidence, once you look for it, is subtly etched into the geological record, disguised as natural phenomena. A mainstream historical fact about technology and its impact on warfare is that advancements in weaponry often fundamentally change the nature of conflict, allowing a smaller, more technologically superior force to dominate a larger, less advanced one. Think of the impact of firearms on ancient battlefields, or air superiority in modern warfare. This principle, writ large, applies to our cosmic hunters. They weren't just stronger, they were smarter and more lethally equipped. For a quirky tidbit, consider the theoretical concept of a Dyson sphere, a hypothetical megastructure that completely encompasses a star to capture its entire energy output. While far-fetched for us, such a concept hints at the scale of engineering and energy manipulation an advanced civilization might command. What if the energy sources used to power their hunt, their ships, and their weapons were of a similar, mind-boggling scale, perhaps tapping into the planet's own core or even localized stellar energy? It makes your home's power grid look like a couple of AA batteries. Historians still argue whether certain anomalous geological formations or unexplained localized magnetic field disruptions could be interpreted as evidence of ancient, incredibly powerful natural phenomena, or if their origins are still truly unknown. What if some of these natural anomalies were actually the faint energy signatures, the residual echoes of alien technology at work? Perhaps not weapons in the sense of destructive lasers, but tools for mass biological manipulation. You sense a strange, almost imperceptible hum now, a resonant frequency that seems to penetrate the very ground beneath your feet. It's not loud, but it's there, a constant, low thrumming that vibrates through the bones of the ancient world. This isn't the sound of an asteroid approaching. This is the sound of planetary-scale engineering. Consider energy manipulation. Perhaps they used focused sonic waves, tuned to frequencies that could disorient, incapacitate, or even subtly cook the internal organs of their colossal prey. A mass incapacitation weapon that wouldn't leave obvious scorch marks, but would effectively neutralize herds of dinosaurs, making them easy pickings. Or perhaps gravitic fields, localized pockets of intense gravity or antigravity, used to lift, transport, or crush their targets. Imagine a Tyrannosaurus suddenly finding itself unable to move, pinned down by an invisible force, or an entire herd of sauropods gently, terrifyingly, levitating towards an unseen collection point in the sky. Then there's the possibility of biological agents. Not a virus in the traditional sense, but something engineered to specifically target the unique physiology of large dinosaurs, perhaps affecting their metabolism, reproductive cycles, or even subtly altering their perception to make them easier to corral or less resistant to capture. This would be the ultimate silent weapon, leaving no direct physical evidence, only the gradual decline and eventual disappearance of the target species. A truly chilling thought, isn't it? To be eradicated not by force, but by a meticulously crafted biological off-switch. The brilliance of this techno-hunt lies in its ability to be both devastatingly effective and incredibly discreet. The hunters didn't want to destroy the planet, they wanted its resources. A messy, highly destructive approach would have been counterproductive. Instead, they employed surgical precision on a grand scale, cloaked by the very chaos they orchestrated. You watch as a herd of hadrosaurs, which moments ago were calmly grazing, suddenly stop, their heads snapping up, an almost bewildered expression on their reptilian faces. They shuffle uneasily, making low, guttural sounds, as if sensing an invisible wall, a subtle shift in their world. There are no visible aggressors, no obvious threats, yet their primal instincts are screaming something is wrong. This is the alien technology at work, influencing behavior, guiding the hunt without leaving a single blast mark. The asteroid, that colossal impact, was likely the culmination, the coup de grace, of this meticulously planned hunt. Perhaps it was a final, sweeping strike to collect the remaining scattered giants, or to simply clear the stage for the next phase of their cosmic agenda. It provided the perfect natural-looking disaster, a convenient scapegoat for the ultimate, unnatural extinction event. You can almost hear the sigh of satisfaction from the alien command deck as they launched that final, precisely aimed projectile. Job well done, they'd likely communicate, cover story secure. As you observe the unseen forces at play, the true horror sinks in. This wasn't some random act of fate. This was a calculated, industrial-scale operation, executed with unimaginable precision and power. The dinosaurs, those magnificent rulers of a bygone era, weren't just unlucky. They were chosen. Chosen as prey, and brought down by methods that redefined the very concept of a hunt. And with the tools of their destruction now revealed, the full scope of their plan begins to solidify. You've seen the sheer power of their unseen weaponry, the chilling precision of their techno-hunt. Now, you stand on the precipice of the true disaster, the phase where the meticulous planning of the cosmic hunters culminates in widespread devastation. This wasn't just about picking off individual giants, it was about orchestrating a planetary collapse. This is the story of ecological collapse, engineered extinction. Think of a complex machine, intricately balanced, with countless gears and levers working in harmony. Now imagine someone subtly, yet deliberately, removing key components, not with a sledgehammer, but with a jeweler's precision. That's what the aliens did to Earth's ecosystem. The asteroid, remember, was just the final, dramatic act, the convenient explanation. The real work, the insidious unraveling, had already begun. A mainstream historical fact about ecology that makes this terrifyingly plausible is the concept of keystone species. These are species that, despite not always being the most abundant, have a disproportionately large impact on their environment. For example, sea otters are keystone species in kelp forests. Without them, sea urchins proliferate and destroy the kelp. Now, imagine targeting the largest animals on Earth, the very top of the food chain, or the most voracious herbivores. Their systematic removal would create catastrophic ripple effects. For a quirky tidbit, some scientists have theorized about a great oxygenation event early in Earth's history, where cyanobacteria fundamentally changed the atmosphere by producing oxygen, leading to the extinction of many anaerobic life forms. It was a massive, natural planetary engineering project. What if, for the dinosaurs, the engineering was inverted, aimed at reducing a key element of their survival or manipulating the very atmospheric conditions they thrived in? This makes the idea of an engineered extinction even more unsettling, doesn't it? Historians still argue whether the decline of specific dinosaur groups was already underway due to natural climate shifts or volcanic activity before the asteroid impact. What if these natural declines were actually early signs of alien intervention, designed to weaken the ecosystem, making it more susceptible to the final blow? The subtle poisoning of water sources, the deliberate introduction of plant blight, the disruption of specific food chains, all disguised as the planet simply having a bad day. You now feel a pervasive sense of unease in the ancient air. The vibrant greens of the jungle seem to have lost a bit of their luster. The constant symphony of roars and chirps is subtly muted, punctuated by strange silences. This isn't just the absence of a few large animals, it's the beginning of a systemic breakdown. The aliens understood that simply hunting creatures one by one would be inefficient. To clear the stage, to ensure a thorough harvest, they needed to trigger a cascade. By selectively removing the largest herbivores, for instance, they would devastate the plant life that relied on their grazing for seed dispersal or nutrient cycling. And by removing the largest carnivores, they would throw the prey populations into chaos, leading to overgrazing in some areas and starvation in others. It's like playing Jenga with an entire ecosystem. Pull out the right blocks, and the whole tower comes crashing down. Their technology wasn't just for incapacitation or collection. It was also for environmental manipulation. Perhaps they subtly altered atmospheric composition, making it harder for the largest creatures to breathe, or causing their massive bodies to overheat. Or they could have amplified existing volcanic activity, guiding lava flows or ash clouds to specific regions, creating localized environmental disasters that would further disorient and concentrate their prey. You can imagine a controlled series of natural catastrophes, each one pushing the ecosystem closer to the brink. The asteroid, therefore, becomes not the cause of the extinction, but the accelerant. It was the perfectly aimed hammer blow that shattered an already weakened and destabilized system. Imagine an old, brittle window pane. A small crack might not shatter it, but a precisely placed, heavy object will. The ecological balance of Earth, already stressed by the invisible hand of the alien hunters, was ready to crumble. You witness a majestic herd of triceratops, usually so formidable, moving with a noticeable slowness, their usually vibrant frills dulled. Some stumble, others simply lie down, listless. There are no obvious wounds, no signs of attack, but their life force seems to be draining, their massive bodies slowly failing. This is the horror of an engineered extinction, not sudden violence, but a gradual, insidious decay. It's far more chilling to imagine a silent, invisible biological or environmental weapon at work than a fiery, immediate impact. The remnants of this engineered collapse would then be attributed to the asteroid. A perfect alibi. The dust clouds, the global fires, the ensuing impact winter, all serve to obscure the true, underlying cause of the widespread die-off. It allowed the hunters to complete their harvest and then leave, confident that any lingering questions would be answered by the convenient cosmic catastrophe. As the primeval jungle around you slowly, subtly, begins to wither, as the sounds of life become fainter and more desperate, you understand the terrifying scope of their plan. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a systematic dismantling of an entire planetary biosphere, carried out with a level of cold, calculating efficiency that is truly beyond our comprehension. The dinosaurs, in their final moments, didn't just succumb to a rock from space, they were victims of a meticulously planned, planet-wide extermination, designed to leave behind only the convenient illusion of a natural disaster. You've just witnessed the slow, agonizing process of an engineered collapse, the vibrant life of the Mesozoic dimming under an unseen hand. Now, the aftermath. The air around you, once thick with the vibrant hum of life, is chillingly silent. The lush greens have faded to a universal ash-gray. This is post-impact Earth, a scarred world, but remember that impact was merely the grand finale to an already orchestrated demise. Imagine waking up in a world that is fundamentally, irrevocably broken. The sky is no longer blue, but a perpetual, oppressive twilight, choked with dust and soot. The sun, a distant, angry eye, barely penetrates the gloom. The air is cold, stale, and carries the acrid scent of burnt vegetation and decay. This isn't the fresh, humid breath of a primeval jungle anymore. This is the lingering stench of a planetary funeral pyre. A mainstream historical fact about the KPG event is the concept of impact winter. The theory suggests that the massive dust and aerosols injected into the atmosphere by the asteroid impact would have blocked out sunlight for months, possibly years, leading to a dramatic global cooling, widespread plant death, and the collapse of food chains. This perfectly explains the sudden disappearance of plant-eating dinosaurs, and subsequently, the carnivores that fed on them. It's a compelling, scientifically sound explanation. For a quirky tidbit, some scientists propose that the impact also triggered massive global wildfires, fed by the superheated ejecta raining back down to Earth. Imagine not just a dark, cold world, but one perpetually smoldering, with continents scarred by immense, slow-burning conflagrations. You might even find vast, black soot layers in the geological record, silent witnesses to this apocalyptic inferno. It's a reminder that even after the initial blast, the planet continued to suffer. Historians still argue whether the long-term effects of the impact, such as widespread volcanism or ocean acidification, were more devastating than the initial impact winter. What if some of these secondary effects were, in fact, deliberate amplifications by the alien hunters, designed to ensure a complete and total ecosystem reset, leaving no large competition for future, smaller inhabitants? It makes the chaos feel less random, doesn't it? More designed. You try to move, but the ground is treacherous. A thick layer of fine ash covers everything, silencing your footsteps, making the landscape eerily quiet. Where once stood towering ferns and ancient trees, now only charred stumps and skeletal remains pierce the gloom. The enormous footprints of sauropods, once common, are now fossilized depressions filled with ash, monuments to a vanished age. The very ground you stand on feels like a tombstone. The impact crater itself, the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan, is a monumental scar on the planet's face. But what if it wasn't just a random hit? What if it was a final, perfectly aimed shot, designed to maximize disruption and obscure the true nature of the hunt? A targeted strike on an already weakened planet, ensuring total environmental chaos. It allowed for a clean exit for the hunters, leaving behind a scene of such utter devastation that no one would question the narrative of a natural catastrophe. The absence of sound is perhaps the most unnerving aspect. The vibrant chorus of the jungle, the thud of giant feet, the distant roars, all gone. Replaced by a haunting silence, broken only by the mournful whisper of the wind through desolate landscapes. You feel the cold seep into your bones, a chilling reminder of the life that was, and the death that swept it all away. And what of the bodies? Millions, billions of tons of biomass, suddenly rendered inert. Were they left to decay, to become part of the fossil record, perpetuating the natural disaster narrative? Or did the alien hunters have a more efficient disposal or collection method? Perhaps advanced tractor beams or matter transporters, cleaning up the most valuable parts of their cosmic harvest before the worst of the dust settled. You can imagine massive, unseen ships hovering just above the clouds, silently siphoning off their prize, leaving behind only the convenient debris of the impact event. The planet is a ghost world, a barren tableau of what was. The ecosystems that had thrived for millions of years were utterly shattered. The food web, once so robust, had snapped in countless places. What little life remained was scrambling, hiding, attempting to survive in a world utterly alien from the one it had evolved in. As you look out across this desolate, ash-covered expanse, a profound sense of isolation washes over you. This wasn't just the end of an era, it was the end of a world, deliberately orchestrated, cunningly disguised. The cosmic hunters had achieved their goal, securing their quarry and leaving behind a smoking, desolate alibi. And while the dust slowly began to settle, and the sun eventually began to reclaim the sky, the true story of the dinosaurs' demise would remain buried, shrouded in geological layers and the comforting lie of a random cosmic rock. The stage was now set, cleared of giants, for whatever came next. You're standing in the desolate landscape of post-impact Earth, a world draped in ash and silence. The sheer scale of the ecological devastation is overwhelming. Yet, amidst this planetary graveyard, life, stubbornly, miraculously, persists. Not the towering giants, not the majestic rulers of the Mesozoic, but the smaller, the swifter, the more adaptable. This is the story of survivor stories, hiding from the hunters. While the grand harvest targeted the colossal creatures, the smaller beings, the ones scurrying in the shadows, burrowing underground, or flitting through the last vestiges of scrubland, found ways to endure. Imagine yourself, a tiny, shivering mammal, no bigger than a rat, tucked away in a burrow beneath the charred roots of a long-dead tree. You're cold, hungry, and terrified, but you're alive. A mainstream historical fact about extinctions is that while large, specialized creatures often succumb, smaller, more generalized species with diverse diets and rapid reproductive cycles tend to fare better. They are less reliant on specific food sources that might be wiped out, and their ability to reproduce quickly allows their populations to rebound faster once conditions improve. This is precisely why early mammals, birds, and some smaller reptiles survived the KPG event. For a quirky tidbit, consider the tardigrade, or water bear. These microscopic invertebrates are famously resilient, capable of surviving extreme temperatures, radiation, and even the vacuum of space by entering a dehydrated, dormant state. While not a dinosaur-era survivor, it highlights the incredible evolutionary adaptations life can develop for sheer endurance. Imagine certain small, hardy prehistoric creatures having a similar, albeit less extreme, capacity for survival in harsh conditions. They were the ultimate preppers of the ancient world. Historians still argue whether the survival of certain small, non-avian dinosaurs, like some multi-lobed plant-eaters, was due to their size, their specific habitat, or pure luck, before they too eventually faded from the fossil record. What if their initial survival wasn't just luck, but also a result of being deemed not worth the effort by the cosmic hunters, too small or too inconvenient to bother within their grand culling? You feel a tiny rustle in the ash nearby. Your eyes, accustomed to the gloom, pick out a small, furry creature, its whiskers twitching nervously. It's a mammal, no doubt. Perhaps something akin to Purgatorius, one of the earliest known primates, scurrying from one piece of scavenged sustenance to another. Its very existence is a testament to resilience, a flicker of life in a world otherwise consumed by death. These survivors weren't just lucky, they were often adapted for obscurity. They lived in burrows, they were nocturnal, they had generalized diets that could shift from insects to seeds to small carrion. While the giants made for obvious targets, these little creatures were effectively invisible to the cosmic hunter's broad-spectrum scans. They were the background noise, the biological static that wasn't worth the energy to filter out. The alien hunters, in their efficiency, focused on the large biomass, the main course. The incidental destruction caused by the asteroid impact provided the perfect cover for this targeted culling. Any smaller creatures that perished were merely collateral damage, not the primary objective. This allowed entire lineages of smaller animals to slip through the cracks, to hunker down in the long, dark winter and wait for the planet to slowly, agonizingly, begin its recovery. You can almost hear the whispered instructions passed down through generations of these survivors: stay small, stay hidden, eat anything you can find, don't make a fuss. Their evolutionary imperative shifted from dominance to pure, unadulterated survival. They became masters of concealment, adept at exploiting every tiny niche, every scrap of life that remained. Consider the birds. They are, after all, direct descendants of avian dinosaurs. While their colossal brethren perished, many smaller, agile feathered creatures, capable of flight and exploiting diverse food sources, managed to survive. They adapted. They evolved. They continued the dinosaur legacy, albeit in a much reduced and aerial form. Perhaps their ability to escape the ground, to soar above the immediate devastation, gave them an edge against the hunter's terrestrial or near-surface strategies. As the dust slowly begins to settle, and faint patches of sunlight begin to pierce the gloom, you see the first tentative shoots of new life emerging from the scarred earth. Small ferns, hardy mosses. And with them, the survivors emerge too, cautiously, tentatively. They are the seeds of a new world, ready to fill the vast ecological void left by the giants. This period was a bottleneck, a crucible. Only the most adaptable, the most generalized, the most inconspicuous survived. The cosmic hunters, in their pursuit of the spectacular, inadvertently cleared the stage for the meek to inherit the earth. It's a strange irony, isn't it? Their grand hunt for the biggest trophies ultimately allowed for the flourishing of the tiny, the insignificant, paving the way for a future that included, well, us. You've witnessed the bleak aftermath, the quiet resilience of the small survivors clinging to existence in a world reshaped by a cosmic hunt. Now, fast forward through millions of years, past the slow healing of the planet, past the gradual rise of new life forms. You arrive at a time when upright primates begin to walk the earth, when our earliest ancestors gaze up at the night sky with a mix of awe and primal fear. It's in their stories, their carvings, their very understanding of the world that you'll find the subtle, often distorted, echoes of that ancient alien hunt. This is the realm of ancient civilizations, echoes of the past. Our ancestors didn't have scientific instruments or the concept of an asteroid impact. They interpreted the world through myth, legend, and the raw, visceral experience of inexplicable phenomena. When they looked up, they saw gods, spirits, and celestial beasts. But what if some of those myths weren't purely imagination, but faded, garbled memories passed down through deep time of something genuinely extraordinary and terrifying that happened long, long ago? A mainstream historical fact is that nearly every ancient civilization across the globe has creation myths and stories of cataclysms, great floods, fiery skies, global darkness, or battles between celestial beings. From the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, which includes a great flood, to the Hindu yugas describing cycles of creation and destruction, These narratives often share striking similarities despite originating from disparate cultures with no known contact. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? For a quirky tidbit, consider the Dogon tribe of Mali, who possess incredibly detailed astronomical knowledge, particularly concerning the Sirius star system, including its invisible dwarf companion star, Sirius B. This knowledge was supposedly passed down to them by beings from Sirius. While highly controversial and often dismissed, it's a tantalizing example of indigenous cultures holding information that seems to defy their known technological or observational capabilities. Could some of these impossible facts be fragmented echoes of something grander? Historians still argue whether the widespread depiction of sky gods or feathered serpents descending from the heavens in various ancient cultures is simply a universal human attempt to explain natural phenomena, or if some deeper, shared experience contributed to these archetypes. What if those gods weren't benevolent deities, but the fleeting, terrifying memory of advanced extraterrestrial beings, whose power and technology were so far beyond comprehension they were deified? You are now standing amongst a group of early humans, huddled around a flickering fire. The shadows dance, elongating figures, turning rustling leaves into monstrous threats. One elder gestures towards the heavens, recounting a tale passed down through countless generations. It speaks of a time when the sky itself was alive, not with stars, but with immense, silent beings that hunted the great beasts of the earth. It's a story infused with fear, reverence, and a deep-seated understanding that the world was once ravaged by something truly alien. These weren't just cautionary tales about lightning or floods. They spoke of the sky devourers, or star hunters, beings who reaped the world clean. The language is metaphorical, poetic, because how else would you describe orbital harvesting platforms or focused energy weapons to people whose greatest invention might be the sharpened stick? They wouldn't call it iridium anomaly, they'd call it the dust of the sky god's wrath. Look at ancient rock carvings. You see depictions of animals, humans, often strange, almost abstract figures. But then you occasionally stumble upon something anomalous, figures with oversized heads, large, unblinking eyes, sometimes with what appear to be helmets or strange appendages. Could these be simple artistic interpretations, or are they fleeting, imperfect attempts to represent beings utterly unlike anything seen on Earth? The pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid of Giza, are a mainstream mystery. Their precision, scale, and astronomical alignments have led to countless theories about advanced lost civilizations or extraterrestrial aid. While often dismissed, the sheer engineering feat pushes the boundaries of what we believe was possible with ancient tools. What if the influence wasn't direct construction, but a lingering technological residue, or knowledge imparted, even accidentally, by the ancient hunters who surveyed Earth long before humans built megaliths? The very concept of a cyclical destruction and rebirth, prevalent in many ancient texts, could be a distorted memory of the periodic cullings or resets orchestrated by these cosmic entities. The dinosaur extinction wasn't the only time life on Earth experienced mass die-offs. What if these events, too, had an external, intelligent hand guiding them, and humanity's collective subconscious retained a faint, terrifying echo? As you listen to the Elder's story, watching the flames lick at the darkness, you realize that the fear isn't just for the wild beasts lurking beyond the firelight. It's a deeper, more profound fear, passed down through the very DNA of humanity. A fear of something vast and powerful that comes from beyond the stars, something that sees an entire planet, an entire ecosystem, as nothing more than a resource to be managed and, eventually, harvested. The myths and legends, often dismissed as primitive folklore, might actually be humanity's earliest attempts to grapple with an incomprehensible truth that we are not alone and that the universe is not always benevolent. The echoes of the ancient alien hunt reverberate through the very foundations of human spirituality, reminding us that even in our most sacred stories, the shadow of a cosmic predator can still be found. You've explored the faded echoes of the ancient hunt within humanity's earliest myths. Now, shift your gaze forward, millions of years after the silence of the post-impact world began to lift. The stage is cleared, the towering giants gone. Into this vast ecological void steps a new lineage, small and unassuming at first, but destined for an unprecedented rise. This is the story of humanity's rise. A new prey emerges. The demise of the dinosaurs wasn't just an end, it was a profound beginning. With the dominant ecological niches suddenly vacant, life, with its irrepressible drive, rushed in to fill them. And the creatures best positioned to take advantage of this new, wide-open world were the small, adaptable mammals that had scurried in the shadows for millions of years, largely unnoticed by the cosmic hunters. They were the ultimate beneficiaries of the most efficient, albeit horrifying, land-clearing operation in Earth's history. A mainstream historical fact, the Cenozoic era, which followed the KPG extinction event, is often called the Age of Mammals. Mammals, which had existed alongside dinosaurs for vast stretches of time, suddenly diversified rapidly, evolving into a myriad of forms to fill the empty niches left by the dinosaurs' disappearance. From tiny shrews, they evolved into everything from whales to bats, and eventually, us. It's a testament to evolutionary opportunity. For a quirky tidbit, the very first mammals were thought to be small, nocturnal, and insectivorous, hiding from the dominant dinosaurs. Imagine these little furry creatures, nibbling on bugs in the dark, completely oblivious that their colossal neighbors were about to be harvested, clearing the way for their lineage to inherit the entire planet. It's like winning the cosmic lottery, but the ticket was bought with dinosaur lives. Historians still argue whether the pace of mammalian diversification was unusually rapid after the extinction event, suggesting an almost explosive adaptive radiation, or if it was a more gradual process simply given a sudden acceleration. What if this rapid diversification wasn't just natural selection at work, but perhaps a subtle, almost unnoticeable guiding hand from the unseen hunters, gently nudging the ecosystem towards a new dominant species, a species that might, in time, become a new form of prey? You now feel a crispness in the air, a freshness that speaks of new growth and a world slowly coming into its own. The ash-covered ground has given way to burgeoning forests, vast grasslands, and the chatter of countless new creatures. Among them, you spot them, the early primates. Small, agile, perhaps scampering through the trees, their grasping hands and keen eyesight a prelude to extraordinary developments. They are not giants, not yet. But they possess something else, an evolving intelligence, a capacity for tool-making, and a nascent curiosity about the world around them. The cosmic hunters had no interest in these tiny, insignificant mammals during their dinosaur harvest. They were too small, too scattered, too low on the biomass totem pole. But as these mammals began to thrive, to grow larger, to organize into social groups, and crucially, to develop complex brains, they would eventually begin to re-enter the cosmic radar. The hunters, if they lingered or returned, would have observed this new experiment in planetary life with a detached, perhaps even calculating, interest. Think about the gradual ascent of humanity. From tree-dwelling primates to upright hominids, mastering fire, developing language, building rudimentary tools, and eventually forming complex societies. Each step forward, each cognitive leap, represented a new potential. A new kind of resource. Not just biological mass, but intellectual capacity. What if the hunters saw this nascent intelligence as a more refined, more valuable product than mere protein? Perhaps they were seeking something more akin to sophisticated biological computers, or even consciousness itself. You might feel a strange sense of unease as you watch these early humans. They are so vulnerable, so seemingly insignificant in the grand cosmic scheme. Yet, within them lies the potential for everything we know. And that potential, that trajectory towards self-awareness and technological advancement, would inevitably draw the attention of those who scour the cosmos for new resources. The Earth, once a dinosaur farm, was now becoming a breeding ground for something far more complex. The hunters, in their long-term cosmic strategies, might have realized that a highly intelligent species, capable of organizing and manipulating its environment, could be cultivated for far greater yields than simple brute biomass. Perhaps they even encouraged, in subtle ways, the very conditions that fostered human development, a slightly more stable climate, the availability of certain resources, the removal of large, competing predators. It's a chilling thought that our own evolution might have been subtly nudged by unseen hands, preparing us for a future purpose. As these early humans begin to spread across the continents, building their first crude shelters, making their first marks on cave walls, you realize the profound irony. The very event that paved the way for our existence, the mass extinction of the dinosaurs, was not a random stroke of luck. It was a deliberate act, and its consequences, including our own flourishing, might have been foreseen, even desired, by the cosmic architects of that ancient purge. We are, in a sense, the indirect product of an alien hunt, perhaps cultivated as a new, more sophisticated form of cosmic harvest. And as humanity continues its ascent, the question lingers, when will the new prey be deemed ripe for the picking? You've witnessed humanity's gradual rise, an ascent made possible by the absence of giants. The thought that our very existence might be an indirect consequence of an alien agenda is unsettling, isn't it? Now, as you peer through the vast tapestry of history, you begin to see patterns, anomalies, and lingering questions that hint at a continued, albeit clandestine, influence. This is the realm of hidden agendas, the alien legacy. The cosmic hunters didn't just pack up and leave after the dinosaur harvest, vanishing without a trace. Their objectives, far grander than a single culling, likely involved long-term monitoring, perhaps even subtle manipulation of planetary development. The Earth, in their eyes, remained a valuable asset, a biological laboratory, or perhaps a reserve, carefully managed from a distance. Their legacy isn't in obvious monuments, but in the unexplained currents that seem to guide our world's destiny. A mainstream historical fact often studied in the context of human development is the concept of punctuated equilibrium, which suggests that evolution doesn't always proceed gradually, but can involve long periods of stasis punctuated by relatively rapid bursts of change. What if some of these rapid evolutionary leaps, particularly in human cognitive development or technological advancement, weren't purely natural, but gently nudged by an external, intelligent force? For a quirky tidbit, consider the persistent legends of lost technologies or ancient supersciences mentioned in various esoteric texts and fringe theories. From the Vimanas, flying machines, described in ancient Indian Sanskrit texts to the alleged anti-gravity devices of mythical Atlantis, These stories speak of knowledge far beyond what we attribute to ancient civilizations. Could these be garbled recollections or subtle imprints left by the advanced technology of the cosmic hunters, artifacts or concepts too complex for early humans to fully grasp or replicate? Historians still argue whether certain periods of accelerated technological innovation in human history, such as the Bronze Age collapse leading to the Iron Age, were purely internal developments driven by necessity, or if external factors, perhaps even environmental shifts that benefited certain resource-rich regions, played a more significant role. What if the hidden agenda involved creating optimal conditions for the emergence of a specific kind of intelligence, one that would eventually reach a point of technological capability that, ironically, might make them the next valuable harvest? You find yourself observing moments in human history where inexplicable advancements occurred, or where certain paths seemed unnaturally smoothed. Why did agriculture suddenly spring up independently in multiple disparate locations around the world at roughly the same time? Why did complex language develop so rapidly? Was it purely a coincidence, or was there a subtle, almost imperceptible guiding hand, cultivating humanity like a prized crop? This hidden agenda isn't about direct intervention in human affairs, not in the sense of landing spaceships on the White House lawn. It's far more sophisticated. It's about maintaining environmental conditions conducive to human proliferation, perhaps subtly influencing the availability of resources or managing geological stability to prevent another catastrophic extinction event that would wipe out their new, developing resource. Think of the seemingly miraculous way Earth's climate has remained relatively stable enough to allow for human civilization to flourish for millennia, despite natural fluctuations. What if the alien technology, perhaps powered by remnant systems left over from the Great Hunt, subtly dampened extreme geological events or regulated atmospheric conditions, ensuring a long, fruitful cultivation period for their new species of interest? It's like a cosmic thermostat set to human flourishing. You might feel a chill recognizing this potential manipulation. If the dinosaurs were raw biomass, what is humanity? Perhaps we are a more refined product. Our creativity, our problem-solving abilities, our complex consciousness, could these be the true harvest for an alien civilization that values something far beyond mere physical bulk? What if they're not interested in our meat, but in our minds? Or perhaps our collective emotional energy? A rather unsettling thought for your sleep, I know. Just imagine being a battery, but for a whole different kind of energy. The continued presence isn't about control in the direct sense, but influence. Guiding the flow of planetary evolution, pruning undesirable evolutionary branches, perhaps even subtly enhancing desirable traits. This wouldn't require constant, overt interaction, but rather the occasional, precisely timed nudge, like a gardener tending to a particularly valuable, slow-growing plant. As you reflect on the vast stretches of human history, punctuated by seemingly random events that nevertheless led to our eventual dominance, a new narrative emerges. A story not of pure, undirected evolution, but of a species subtly shepherded, perhaps unknowingly, towards a specific, predetermined future. The hidden agendas of the ancient alien hunters continue to ripple through time, shaping the very world we inhabit, ensuring that the planet remains a fruitful, if terrifyingly managed, reserve for their enduring, enigmatic purposes. You felt the unsettling whisper of hidden agendas, the idea that our world's development might not be entirely unguided. Now, let's bring it closer to home, to the peculiar occurrences and enduring enigmas that populate our modern world. From unexplained disappearances to strange aerial phenomena, could these be more than just coincidences or misidentifications? This is where we delve into modern mysteries, unexplained phenomena, and consider if they're echoes of a lingering alien presence. Even today, in our age of advanced science and constant information, there are events and observations that simply defy conventional explanation. While most can eventually be attributed to natural causes, human error, or hoaxes, a persistent few remain stubbornly enigmatic. What if these aren't isolated incidents, but rather subtle traces of an intelligence still at work, carrying on its ancient legacy in the shadows? A mainstream historical fact about modern mysteries is the sheer volume of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, formerly known as UFOs, reported globally. While many can be explained as misidentified aircraft, satellites, or natural phenomena, a significant percentage, including those documented by military pilots with advanced sensors, remain officially unexplained. These aren't just blurry photos anymore, they're often corroborated by multiple data points and credible witnesses. For a quirky tidbit, consider the enduring mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, a region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean where numerous aircraft and ships have supposedly disappeared under mysterious circumstances. While many explanations exist, from rogue waves to magnetic anomalies, the sheer number of incidents in this specific area has fueled decades of speculation about everything from sea monsters to, you guessed it, extraterrestrial activity. Could it be a localized zone of residual alien technology, perhaps a persistent portal or an energy sink? Historians still argue whether the sudden disappearance of entire communities or groups of people in remote areas, such as the Roanoke colony or various missing hikers in national parks, can be fully explained by known environmental factors or human misadventure. What if these aren't just unfortunate accidents, but glimpses into a continuation of the alien harvesting agenda, now subtly applied to a different kind of valuable resource, us? You are watching a documentary, Late at Night, a hushed voice describing eyewitness accounts of impossible maneuvers by objects in the sky. These aren't just lights, they are solid craft performing feats that defy our understanding of aerodynamics and physics. Objects accelerating from 0 to thousands of miles per hour, making instant right-angle turns, diving into oceans without a splash, or simply vanishing. These aren't just blurry lights, they are precise, technological expressions. Think about the sheer audacity required to operate undetected in our highly surveilled world. For these phenomena to persist, the underlying intelligence must possess technology far beyond our own, allowing them to bypass radar, optical detection, and even direct human observation. It hints at cloaking devices, advanced propulsion, and perhaps even forms of dimensional travel. The same kind of technology that allowed them to discreetly operate during the dinosaur hunt, but now with even more refinement. The purpose of these modern sightings isn't necessarily a new, full-scale hunt. It could be continued monitoring. Observing humanity's technological and social development, assessing our trajectory, and perhaps even subtly course-correcting if our progress deviates from their long-term plans. Are we being prepared for something? Are we being evaluated? The thought is enough to make you feel like you're living in a cosmic observation dome. Consider the occasional, unexplained power outages or technological glitches that seem to have no apparent cause. What if these are not random failures, but fleeting moments when alien technology, operating in our vicinity, interferes with our more primitive systems? Like a massive, complex engine subtly disrupting a tiny, buzzing bee nearby. Perhaps the very nature of their harvest has evolved. If the dinosaurs were biomass, and early humans were potentially groomed for cognitive or energetic harvest, what about modern humans? What is the ultimate resource we provide? Our creativity? Our collective consciousness? Our unique emotional spectrum? The idea is as terrifying as it is unfathomable, that our passions, our thoughts, our very essence, could be the next valuable commodity in their cosmic economy. As you drift off, contemplating these unexplained phenomena, the line between ancient myth and modern mystery blurs. The lingering presence of an intelligence that once culled the giants of Earth continues to manifest in subtle, yet undeniable ways. The sky is still watchful, and the shadows still hold secrets. We may be masters of our planet, but we might just be living in a cosmic terrarium, observed by unseen eyes, our future perhaps already charted by the enduring, hidden agenda of the ancient alien hunters. You've just peered into the disquieting world of modern mysteries, seeing the subtle fingerprints of a lingering, ancient intelligence. The thought that we might be under constant, albeit covert, observation is enough to make the hairs on your neck stand up. Now, take that unsettling realization and project it forward. If the pattern holds, if the historical trajectory of this alien agenda continues, then the question inevitably becomes, the next hunt, are we ready? The narrative we've built suggests a cyclical pattern, identification of a valuable resource, dinosaurs, engineered extinction harvest, a period of planetary recovery and evolution of new life, and then, a return or continued presence of the hunters. Humanity, with its rapid technological advancement and burgeoning population, now represents a massive, highly concentrated resource. We are, in a sense, growing ripe. A mainstream historical fact that makes this chillingly relevant is the concept of carrying capacity in ecology. This is the maximum population size of a biological species that can be sustained by a given environment, given the available food, habitat, water, and other necessities. When a species exceeds its carrying capacity, resources become scarce, leading to population decline. What if the alien hunters view Earth as a controlled environment, and our current population growth is pushing us towards their preferred harvest point? For a quirky tidbit, consider the Fermi paradox. This paradox asks, if the universe is so vast and life is likely common, then where is everybody? Why haven't we definitively detected intelligent alien life? One chilling proposed solution is the Great Filter, a mechanism that prevents civilizations from reaching interstellar travel. This filter could be a natural event, or, as our story suggests, it could be an external intelligence that actively prunes advanced civilizations before they become a threat or escape their designated cosmic farm. Quite the cosmic crop rotation idea, isn't it? Historians still argue whether humanity's accelerating technological progress will inevitably lead to self-destruction through nuclear war or environmental collapse, or if we will find ways to overcome these challenges. What if our internal conflicts and vulnerabilities are actually encouraged by an external force, ensuring that we remain distracted and divided, making us easier to manage and, when the time comes, easier to collect? You are gazing out at a sprawling cityscape, a vibrant hub of human activity. Millions of lights twinkle, cars hum along unseen roads, and the air thrums with the energy of human endeavor. We are everywhere. We have built incredible structures, developed intricate societies, and created astonishing technologies. We are, undeniably, the dominant species on this planet. And that dominance, just like the dinosaurs' gigantism, might make us the next most attractive target. Our very advancements might be what draws their attention. We're developing technologies that could allow us to detect them, or worse, to expand into space ourselves, potentially interfering with their cosmic domain. To a long-term, far-sighted intelligence, this burgeoning, spacefaring species might be seen as a future competitor or a runaway resource. And any good cosmic farmer knows when to cull a problematic herd. The next hunt might not involve asteroids and dust clouds. It could be far more subtle, tailored to our vulnerabilities. Psychological manipulation on a global scale, engineered societal collapse from within, or perhaps even a direct, technological intervention disguised as a natural phenomenon. Imagine a global internet outage that leads to utter chaos, or a carefully orchestrated economic crash that plunges humanity into disarray. These could be the subtle preparatory moves, the modern-day equivalent of subtly herding the dinosaurs. Are we ready for such a confrontation? Our divisions, our reliance on fragile global systems, our often short-sighted political agendas, these are glaring weaknesses. We're a species that struggles to agree on basic scientific facts, let alone prepare for an existential threat from beyond the stars. The thought is almost comically grim. Imagine trying to explain to the world leaders that the reason the stock market crashed was because an ancient alien race wants to harvest our collective neural energy. You'd be laughed out of the room. The mysterious UAPs, the strange disappearances, the unexplainable phenomena, these aren't just curiosities. They are perhaps the reconnaissance missions, the advanced scouts, quietly assessing our growth, our technological capabilities, and our vulnerabilities. They are collecting data, refining their strategy, preparing for the next phase of their hidden agenda. The cosmic clock is ticking, and humanity, for all its brilliance, might just be next on the menu. As you contemplate this future, a profound sense of isolation washes over you. The vastness of space, once filled with wonder, now feels like a cold, empty expanse where unseen eyes watch and wait. The comfort of our seemingly secure world begins to crack, revealing the chilling possibility that we are not the masters of our destiny, but merely the next act in a cosmic drama, a play whose script was written eons ago by an intelligence we can barely comprehend. And with that thought, we move towards the final, quiet contemplation of our place in this immense, unknowable universe. You've traveled through deep time, witnessing the fall of giants and the rise of humanity, always under the spectral shadow of an ancient, alien hunt. You've grappled with the chilling thought of our potential future as the next harvest. Now, as the journey through this alternative history draws to a close, it's time to ease back, to soften the edges of these unsettling truths, and to fade into the gentle embrace of the unknown. This is the cosmic sleep, beyond our understanding. The universe is vast beyond measure, an expanse of untold galaxies, stars, and planets. To truly comprehend it is to concede the limits of our own perception and knowledge. We, as humans, strive for answers, for neat explanations, for a logical framework to contain the chaos of existence. But sometimes, the most profound truth lies in accepting that some things simply are, without needing to fit neatly into our understanding. A mainstream historical fact about cosmology is that the observable universe is estimated to contain billions, if not trillions, of galaxies, each with billions of stars. The sheer scale makes it statistically probable that life, and even intelligent life, exists elsewhere. This fact, while inspiring, also opens the door to possibilities that transcend our comfort zones, possibilities of beings with motivations and forms utterly alien to our own. For a quirky tidbit, the concept of dark matter and dark energy represents about 95% of the universe's total mass energy content, yet we can't directly observe or understand it. It's the invisible scaffolding of the cosmos. Imagine, then, that the ancient alien hunters operate within a similar realm of unseen forces, wielding technologies derived from these very mysteries. Their ships, their weapons, their very presence, might exist beyond our conventional detection, making their influence both pervasive and undetectable. It's like trying to see the wind. Historians still argue whether humanity's inherent drive to explore and seek knowledge is a purely evolutionary trait, or if it's fueled by a deeper, perhaps subconscious, recognition of the vastness and mystery beyond our immediate world. What if that innate curiosity, that yearning for cosmic understanding, is a subtle imprint left by an ancient encounter, a whisper across millennia hinting at the true nature of the universe? Now, let your thoughts drift, like dust motes in a beam of starlight. The roars of the dinosaurs fade into a distant hum. The whispers of ancient myths dissolve into the rustling of leaves. The unsettling glint of modern UAPs softens into the distant twinkle of ordinary stars. The sharp edges of fear begin to blur, replaced by a sense of profound wonder at the sheer scale of existence. Perhaps the hunt was not malicious, not by their standards. Perhaps it was a form of cosmic husbandry, a management of life on a grand scale, ensuring the health and variety of the universe's biological tapestry. To an intelligence that measures time in eons and surveys galaxies as we survey continents, the extinction of a dominant species might be as routine as pruning a garden bush. A necessary step for future growth. The universe doesn't operate by our moral compass, nor does it owe us explanations. It simply is. And within that isness, there are untold possibilities, intelligences that defy our wildest imaginings, and histories far more complex and intertwined than we can ever fully grasp. The idea of the ancient alien hunt isn't meant to terrify, but to gently prod the boundaries of your mind, to invite you to consider narratives beyond the conventional. You are a tiny, fleeting consciousness in an unimaginably vast cosmos. Your concerns, your daily routines, your very existence, are but a microscopic flicker in the grand, silent expanse. And within that expanse, perhaps, there are beings who have witnessed the birth and death of stars, who have engineered entire biospheres, and who view planets like Earth as momentary experiments in life. Let the images fade now. The colossal dinosaurs, the shimmering alien vessels, the ash-covered world, the scurrying mammals, the ancient storytellers, the modern enigmas. They all blend into a soft, cosmic haze. The truths we uncovered tonight are not meant to disturb your peace, but to expand your sense of wonder. To remind you that even in your most ordinary dreams, the universe holds secrets far grander and stranger than fiction. The universe holds its mysteries close. We glimpse fragments, interpret whispers, and build narratives. The story of the ancient alien hunt for dinosaurs is just one such narrative, a tapestry woven from scientific anomaly and cosmic imagination. It invites you to consider that even the most accepted truths can have deeper, darker, more wondrous layers hidden beneath. And with that, the journey ends. The quiet hum of the universe cradles you now. The weight of galactic history presses gently, not with fear, but with the profound comfort of the unknowable. You are small, but you are part of something infinitely vast and mysterious. Let that thought settle, like a soft blanket, around your consciousness. The ancient hunters, the cosmic sleep, the endless expanse, all part of a dream from which you need not wake. The secrets of the universe will wait for another night. The final embers of the story flicker, casting long, soft shadows in your mind. The colossal shapes of dinosaurs, once vivid and roaring, now recede, becoming indistinct forms swallowed by the mists of time. The unseen ships, those silent watchers, are merely glints of distant starlight, fading into the infinite black. The harshness of a scarred Earth softens into the gentle contours of slumber, a planet breathing quietly in the cosmic night. There's no need to grasp at understanding now, no need to untangle the intricate threads of ancient plots or future uncertainties. Simply let them dissolve, like sugar in warm water, leaving only a faint sweetness, a lingering sense of possibility. Your body feels heavy, your limbs relaxed, sinking deeper into the comfort of your bed. The cool air from the fan is a gentle whisper, mimicking the soft currents of the deep ocean, carrying away any lingering tension. The thoughts of ancient hunts and cosmic agendas become as fleeting as morning dew, evaporated by the rising warmth of approaching sleep. You are safe, enveloped in the quietude of your own space, far removed from the echoes of forgotten ages or the silent gaze of distant stars. The questions remain, suspended like dust motes in moonlight, but they are no longer urgent. They are merely concepts, gentle prompts for the dreaming mind to wander through. The true reason the dinosaurs died, the whispers of alien technology, the rise of humankind, these are tales now, soft as a lullaby, inviting a restful peace. You've journeyed far tonight, through millions of years and unfathomable spaces. Now, it's time for your own voyage into the landscapes of dreams, where logic loosens its grip and imagination reigns supreme. Let your breathing deepen, slow and steady, each exhale releasing a little more of the day's waking thoughts, a little more of the story's lingering grip. You are drifting, effortlessly, on a calm, silent current, a tiny vessel in a boundless, peaceful ocean. The universe holds countless secrets, yes, but for now, it holds only silence and the promise of deep, restoring rest. Everything is as it should be. Close your eyes.